Well, folks, Mr. Donald Trump, the law and order candidate, is fixing to get a full dose of law and order. You know, every time I see the guy on the TV, he's talking about law and order. Well, now he's going to have the distinct pleasure of getting a good taste of Manhattan, New York County Central booking. Yeah, and let me tell you something. That place ain't nothing like Mar-a-Lago. Oh, no, 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 no. He may not be there long, and he may not actually go to Rikers Island or the Tombs, which is located right there by the New York City Manhattan court. I know it used to be in operation. I would imagine that it still is. But in any event, this kind of like takes me back to, you know, uh, all these hypocrite type, law and order Republican types. Rush Limbaugh, he used to constantly talk about how, people who did quote unquote, illegal substances were real dirt bags and needed to be locked away in the darkest dungeons and kept there indefinitely. And then it came out that he was popping Oxycontins uh, by the handful, that he was buying illegally off of his maid. Um, Same thing, Sean Hannity. They're water boy blowhards for the big corporations. You know, all of them dirtbags. And Trump. My biggest problem with Trump, all right, I had a lot of problems with the guy, but my biggest problem with him is that he would go out of his way to say mean, hurtful things to his fellow citizens. Okay, your fellow citizens. At some point, these blowhard Republican law and order type of candidates may realize. Now, I have no hope of this because most of them aren't nearly as smart as they think they are. But at some point, maybe they'll realize that you don't need to pander to the religious folks and the law and order types because if they do decide to vote, they're going to vote for the blowhards anyway. Okay? Now, because those types, the religious, hellfire and brimstone and the law and order types and stuff, they would never vote for a liberal Democrat candidate. So if they do decide to go to the polls and vote, it's obvious to a duck that they're going to vote for, the law and order, blowhard Republican candidate. And he would just say mean hearted things constantly and continuous and just continuously. You know, as a president of any country, okay, you have an obligation, okay. Maybe on a personal level, you might disapprove of maybe certain people's lifestyles, and you're entitled to that. You're entitled to your personal point of view. But when you're, especially when you're elected to the presidency, the office of the president of any country, you're obligated to go out of your way to help the country come together, to be a mender, to help. Not constantly try to pit one group against another group, say hurtful things, just be, mean hearted in a lot of your statements. I mean, it's just foolish and foolhardy. So now, what's his name? The New York DA, I think it's Alvin Bragg, the New York District Attorney. Manhattan is called New York County. Um, he has charged him with the crime, and I'm sure he has the evidence to prove the crime. Otherwise, he wouldn't charge him, okay? Because he obviously knows Trump has a whole team of attorneys that are going to do everything they can to beat the case. So, obviously, he did painstaking research, and in his opinion, anyway, he has the evidence to get a conviction, and it's not going to be a misdemeanor conviction; it's going to be a felony conviction. And but let's get back to the first thing I was talking about: how Trump would continuously make mean-hearted statements. Now, who knows if cheating happened or not? Who knows? I mean, some people think it did, some people think it didn't, and everybody's definitely entitled to their own point of view when it comes to that. But if he could have got the gay people and the Latino people to vote for him, he would have won, whether they tried to cheat or not. And the way you get people to vote for you is you do the right thing, man. You try to help. When you show up, you're there to help, okay? Because as the president, you have an obligation to be the president of the people who voted for you and the president of the people who did not vote for you also. You have an obligation to do that. Now, I have gay people in my family that I love and respect. I have people of color as good friends of mine, and we go back decades, that I really care about and have a lot of respect for. And some of them I almost consider like family. We're just so close and so cool, and we became friends not because we were different, but because we had so much in common on other levels. Race and ethnicity was really like a far afterthought. And I find it offensive that he villainized people that were in vulnerable groups. Here's the deal: when, as the president or any elected leader on a national level, when you come out and you say mean things, then wackos who are sitting in their basement or wherever they're at, they hear you say those things. They hear you say that, and while you may not actually be saying, hey, go and attack, what you say facilitates them thinking in their own wacko brain that you're somehow giving them subliminal permission to, attack in a violent way, or use subvertive tactics, all right, to harm people, to harm your fellow citizens. I don't sign up for that. I just don't think it's cool, man. It's just not the right thing. So now Trump, just like Rush Limbaugh did, he's going to get a good taste of law and order. Okay, he's been privileged all of his life. He was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. And I'm not saying the guy don't have some busy business proxy. I mean, he owns hotels and stuff all over the world. Now, how he got them, who he cheated, who he stepped on, I mean, I don't know all those things. But obviously he's got some business savvy. That doesn't necessarily mean has presidential savvy, okay? Because maybe he did some good things, maybe he didn't while he was the president. At the end of the day, I guess everybody's got to come to their own conclusions on that topic. But one thing I can say, in my opinion, he said one dumb thing after another dumb thing that alienated his fellow citizens. Some things, even as the president of the United States, are above your pay grade, pal. And maybe it's time you start reeling it in, okay? When you villainize gay people or people who identify one way or another, hey, that's their life. We only have one life, okay? And I think it's a good thing here in the United States and the whole world that people are given an opportunity to live their life, their one life that they have. And let me tell you something else. If I was born in a country that no matter how hard I work, no matter how much I went to church, no matter how good of a person I was, and how decent and upstanding I was, I could work 10, 12, 13, 14 hours a day and never be able to get ahead because the wages are so low, the availability of products are very limited, and you're living under an oppressive government regime. Well, you know what? And I looked to the north, and I saw, the United States with all of its opportunities. Uh, you know, I would come too, and whether if I was illegal or not. Now, obviously, I would prefer to do it legally. But if I could not do it legally somehow, I would still do it. Okay? Now, I remember, well, I don't remember, but you can read the history books. We've had plenty, countless poor people, all right, come to this country from all over the world. And, look at New York 100 years or more ago, maybe 150 years ago. The sanitation was awful because most of the people who come were poor, downtrodden people. But you gave them a chance, and conditions continued to improve. They got better because the people wanted more. You got to crawl before you can walk. You don't start off running a marathon. You start off crawling. Okay, and things get a little bit better and a little bit better. Now, there was a lot of crime committed back then by the Irish, by any number of different. I'm Irish, so I'm primarily Irish. I'm probably more or less like a European mutt, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But my last name is McManus, so Scottish, Irish, you know. But a lot of those people committed crime, There's a reason why the Irish people have a reputation for drinking and fighting, because they're known for that. That doesn't mean that every Irish person does that. It doesn't mean that every Irish person is in the Irish mob or an Irish gang. No, the great majority of Irish people came here, Irish, Scottish, German, Italian, Scandinavian, Hungarian, all over the world. Africans, Russians. I mean, if you go to Brighton Beach over in Brooklyn, I mean, it's full of Russians. Those people came here because they wanted a better life, okay? Now, most of those people, the great amount of them, are law-abiding, tax-paying citizens. Yeah, you're going to always have a small group that may not be the best of character. But again, look back 150 years ago. I mean, the Irish have a really bad reputation as being, people who like to drink and start fights and create mayhem and have gangs and stuff. Now, does that mean, again, no, most Irish people were not doing that. And the same can be applied to the immigrant groups coming in today. Yeah, you're going to always have a few bad apples here and there. That does not mean that the great majority of these people who are coming to our country primarily illegally, because a lot of them don't know how to fill forms out, they don't have a team of lawyers like Mr. Donald Trump, Law and Order, okay? They don't have a team of lawyers. They don't have any of this. And the only thing they want to do, man, is try to come up here and make an honest, decent living doing jobs that most Americans would prefer not to do, okay? Now, when you start villainizing these people, man, it makes you look like a little petty man, okay? Right then and there, you get a whole bunch of people worked up and energized because of what you're saying. But as time goes by and you view it from a historical point of view, it makes you look like a little petty man. And I have to ask myself at that point, are you qualified to be the President of the United States? Now, irregardless of what he may have did with certain foreign policies or this or that and the next thing, and I honestly don't believe that anybody's all bad or all good. I think all people, myself included, either you do more good than you do bad, or you do more bad than you do good. So, am I saying that, everything he did as far as foreign policy was bad or wrong or this or that or the next thing? Well, I do believe that we should go talk to leaders that have nuclear weapons. Whether if we agree with what they have to say or their point of view or not, the fact of the matter is they do have nuclear weapons. So rather if you end up even giving them anything or supporting them in any way, if you go talk to the guy or the person, if you go and talk to the person, now you make them feel like at least, hey, somebody's taking me serious. And I think it kind of temps down the temperature in the room. When somebody's saying, hey, I got a nuclear weapon, you're like, say, so what, man? I won't even talk to you. You're a nobody. Well, no, I'm not a nobody, man. I have nuclear weapons that could take out some of your major cities. So actually, I am somebody. Now, yeah, it would result in my country being annihilated from the face of the earth, but never understand that I could reach out and touch you. All right? So I'm not a nobody. Okay, now maybe I'm a bad guy, maybe I'm somebody who shouldn't exist. All those are valid questions and valid points of reason, but um, it doesn't negate the fact this guy has serious weaponry. So certain things he may have did, which I may have thought, well, hey, that one move was a pretty sharp move, or maybe okay, that was overall the right course of action to take in that situation. As a whole, the way he has divided the country, the way he's alienated or attempted to alienate, and you know, uh, a lot of things that are going on the left in the mainstream is a backlash to what these law and order blowhard types have did or tried to implement. You try to go one way, well, other people's going to push back. So things have a way of taking on a life of their own at that point. But it's called cause and effect. You do there's action and reaction. You do something, I do something. We're playing a game of chess. You make a move, I make a move. So when you start villainizing people, and of course, people are going to push back, and I get it. I understand why. But yeah, Mr. Donald Trump is going to fix to get a full dose of the law and order that he loves to talk, that he loves to talk about, the good old law and order. Well, I hope that he enjoys his dose. I don't think he will. I think he's fixing to spend millions of dollars defending himself, and I think in New York, especially with the New York jury, I would say his chances of being found guilty are probably above 90%. Now, what is that going to do for his potential run for the presidency? It's the best of my understanding that if you have a felony conviction, you're not allowed to run for the presidency. And I don't claim to be, the utmost legal scholar in the country on, U.S. constitutional law, but that's my understanding as a layman. If you have a felony conviction, you are not allowed to run for the presidency. So where could this all lead? How could it all play out? Who knows? Your guess is as good as mine. I guess we're just going to, have to see how it unfolds. But one more topic that I wanted to discuss today. First of all, I want to say something. Nothing is a blanket statement. Okay? So let me explain what I mean by that. With the inequality that exists in our nation, if you're born to a family of means, not necessarily rich, but of some means, and you have good mentors and good people to show you the way, it doesn't mean that you're not a human being. It doesn't mean that you may not stumble here and there or make a mistake there and here. What it means is overall, you have a much better chance of success. Okay? Now, it's not to say some people born in the family of means won't go bad. No, of course, some of them will. But you have a much better chance of success overall, generally speaking, if you're born into a family of means and a family that has one or two close family members or close family friends that can help mentor you as a young person. Now, the same holds true if you're born into a bad situation or a family of little or no means where you have no positive role models and you don't have anyone to mentor you. Now, not to say some of those individuals will not rise above it all and become very successful, but the chances of you being able to rise above it all and become a successful when you're born into a family or a situation with little or no means and no good mentors um, is pretty low overall. Now, and I know a lot of people might get on me because I didn't phrase this or this right, man, but my intentions is good on this. It's hard to rise above when you have a stacked deck going against you. Okay, you didn't go to the right school. You got a low level felony or a misdemeanor conviction. This or that or that or this, or you don't have the money to buy the equipment to do what you need to do. Now, these are real obstacles and barriers, and they do hold back a lot of otherwise really good people that would succeed if they were given a fair shot and a fair opportunity. So, I just wanted to address that topic and kind of see how it unfolds and where it all unwinds and you know um, look at for example Donald Trump's family. All of his kids are making money, living in nice villas, etc. So on, all over the world because the guy's got hotels everywhere. So they can just go jet set wherever they want to do. All they got to do is just do some dirty dealing for their daddy. You know what I mean? He'd probably be more than happy to find him a jet ride somewhere. Yeah, so it is extremely difficult. And again, nothing is a blanket statement. Nothing can be applied to every individual, but yeah, it is extremely difficult. And when you villainize people, but and they're already going up against this stacked deck, all right, and you villainize them, it just makes things harder and on a much harder. And on a closer note, something else that I wanted to address with you. Let's say that you are convicted of a felony, okay, and let's say that which many of your fellow Americans have been convicted of a crime, and many of them have went to prison, local, state, or federal, and many of them have been on probation, and it could happen to you. Nobody's above it. I mean, look at this. Look at Donald Trump. He's got millions and millions and millions of dollars. He never thought it would happen to him, but I would say within the next year or two, he's going to be found guilty of a felony. Yeah, I'd say there's a really good chance. How it all play out, who knows? Now, on another note, like in New York, he's going to go and get arraigned. He'll be released on his own recognizance, more than likely. He may have to surrender his passport, and he's going back to Mar-a-Lago. And then his attorneys are going to drag the case out, and he'll probably be getting a verdict about the time that people start going to the polls to vote, in about 2 years from now. That's probably when his verdict will be coming down. But on another issue that I wanted to address in this episode, let's say that you or someone you love has been convicted of a felony, or even more than one felony. It doesn't matter, whatever number, low level, high level, whatever. And let's say you go to jail, okay? And let's say you do your time, you get out of jail, and then you do your probation or your parole with no issues, okay? You do it, you pay your debt to society. Well, now, in our current situation, here in the land of the brave and the home of the free, you will be a second-class citizen indefinitely. You can never again own a firearm, and that is very unconstitutional based on the Bill of Rights, which is the first 10 amendments of the United States Constitution. Every territory, every colony that became a state said, okay, these 10 things, that includes freedom of speech, that includes freedom of the press, the right to own and bear arms, these 10 things are sanctimonial. If every colony, every signer of the U.S. Constitution doesn't agree to these 10 things, we're not going to have a country. We're not going to have a country because we're not going to sign on to it. We're not going to become a part of it. We're not going to have a country. Now, the Supreme Court, which ultimately, in a roundabout way, is responsible for so much mayhem and chaos that goes on in this country. Okay, with their felonious lightning bolt rulings. Okay, they routinely go back and meddle into the Bill of Rights, the 10 First Amendments to the United States Constitution, and we would not have a country if every colony, every signer of the United States Constitution had not agreed to these 10 basic things, and they cannot be tampered with. They're sanctimonial, but these flimsy, lame-brained Supreme Court justices go back constantly and meddle and tinker, and some things are held up as sanctimonial, and other things are kind of, well, we can modify this and this a little bit. Understand, we would not have a country, there would not be a Supreme Court of the United States if every signer of the United States Constitution had not said these 10 things: right to bear arms, freedom of speech, freedom of the press. If these 10 things are not guaranteed to be 100% sanctimonial, we won't sign it. We won't have a United States. Okay? As it stands right now in this country, even after you have totally paid your debt to society every day of your prison, your probation, your parole sentence, you can never have an opportunity to be a full citizen again. You will forever be regulated to the back seat and be a second-class citizen. And that is just moronic and absolutely stupid and unlawful and unconstitutional in every frame, every aspect. Now, I would propose, if I was a candidate running for office, hey, a guy messed up, or a person messed up. He broke a law. He was convicted of breaking a law. He has to pay what he owes. He has to make it right with society. Fair enough. Fair enough. After he does his sentence, after he completes his parole or probation or parole, he should have a mechanism that he can prove that he has, or they have become an upright, decent citizen, and apply for an opportunity to be a fully functioning, fully licensed citizen again. I would propose that, hey, after you completely finish your sentence, you completely max it out, the prison sentence and probation or parole, if that is a part of your sentence, if you can have good conduct for 10 years, good conduct, and you can get 3 people in the county that you live in that has never been convicted of a felony or any crime, okay, any crime. If you can get 3 individuals in the county that you live in that have never been convicted of a crime, and you maintain 10 years of good conduct, no crimes, being a productive citizen, 10 years from the final date of the maximum expiration of your sentence in its entirety, you, after 10 years passed, and you have proven that you are a decent, upstanding, law-abiding citizen, you should be able to petition a court and have an opportunity to have all of your rights returned and restored to you. Yeah, I believe that wholeheartedly, and I think a whole lot of other people believe it too, even if they haven't also ultimately ever been convicted of a crime. My wife never been convicted of a crime in her life. Straight as an arrow, law-abiding citizen as the day is long. But she loves me, thank God. But I'm just saying, man, you get these low-level felony convictions or any felony conviction, there should be room for redemption. There should be room for opportunity. You should not be regulated to be a second-class citizen for the rest of your life. If you're in the United States of America, I just don't think it's right. I don't agree with it. Well, let me know what you guys think and what your opinion of the issues are that we discussed in this episode. Hit me up in the comments. I'll read them, and hey, maybe I'll address them.